You know what, I think it might actually be impossible to be in the houseplant hobby and not be obsessed with variegated houseplants. I know I've got the bug and I just can't stop looking at new ones, buying new ones, getting obsessed with the ones I have. So today I thought I'd share with you my top 10 favourite variegated houseplants at the moment that I have in my collection. Obviously there are loads that are on my wish list, but today I'm going to focus on the ones that I actually have and share with you just the top ones that I'm really enjoying at the moment, the ones that are bringing me the most joy and happiness. So these are in no particular order. So I'm going to start with my little baby here. This little guy is a Singian Neon Robusta, and you can see it has that pink tinge to the leaves. There's actually a new leaf coming in at the moment. I don't know if you can see it. You might be able to there. Just eking its way out of the soil there. Really happy to see that because it's the first new leaf that I've seen on it since I got it. This one I bought from a garden centre. It was a propagation, you know when they sell propagations in the pretty jars with water in them. I got mine like that, planted it on up into soil, and yeah, it's just doing really well. But I'm just obsessed with this one at the moment. To be honest with you, I'm probably obsessed with any kind of pink plant. If I see a pink plant, I make a beeline for it at the moment, and especially if it's a Syngonium, because that's like two of my favourite things. Pink plants, Syngoniums, just love them. I can't get enough of them. I cannot wait until this one grows so I can just make loads and loads more and propagate it. When it does grow, which won't be for a while, it's not going to be this year that I propagate this plant, sadly, but as soon as it's big enough to propagate, I'm going to be making so many pink babies. Okay. Next, just thinking which one am I going to show you next. I'm going to go for this one. This one's just looking at me and saying choose me. If I can get it out of its pot. It does not want to come out. Okay, there we go. This is a Aglaonema White Joy. This one's so cool because it's mostly white, but it's got these green speckles, and they just look like wings, these leaves. I think they're so beautiful. It's so elegant. And now that summer is coming in here, I'm noticing that I'm having to rethink where my plants are a little bit, because some of them are a little bit too close to the bright light. This one was a little bit close to the bright light, and I thought to myself today, I was picking this one up to bring it in here because this one usually lives in my bedroom, and I was thinking, I think I better move that one because now that the summer nights are coming in, there's some quite strong sun in the afternoon, and I'm thinking this one might get burned. So I'm going to move this one into the living room where the light is far more filtered and you don't get any direct sun in here. I do get direct sun sometimes in the bedroom. In fact, I did the same thing for my Monstera Adansonii. I have a big tall one. I had actually put it in my kitchen, and I noticed yesterday that it was looking a bit like droopy, I suppose, but it looked a bit sad, and I thought to myself, well, it's because it's in the sun, isn't it? It's getting too much direct sun, because in my kitchen I have a massive window. So yeah, I've just been moving a few plants around. This is one of them, but this one I've had, I can't remember how long I've had it. I'll have to check my video of me buying it, but anyway, that doesn't matter. Since I bought it, it's doing really well, and I'd highly recommend this one. Aglaonemas are known for being really easy. This one definitely lives up to that, and yeah, it's really cool. Some of the leaves have got more green on them than others, but yeah, I just love this one. It just reminds me of something really kind of, I don't know, like fairyland, oldie worldy, something like that. Wings. It's really pretty, yeah. Okay. Definitely going to get some more Aglaonemas for sure. Because the great thing about Aglaonemas is not only are they super easy, they come in all these amazing different colours. Okay, next is this one. I think this is called, it's a weeping fig, a variegated weeping fig, but I think it's also called the Ficus Benjamina Twilight, if I remember rightly. But yeah, I guess because it just looks a bit like it's got moonlight on the leaves. And again, this one I think is really elegant and beautiful. And I shouldn't really be touching this plant pot because I'm allergic to metal. But hopefully it'll be okay. I won't get a breakout. But yeah, anyway, it's worth it for this plant because this plant is just so beautiful. Those leaves are so elegant. When I got this one home, I actually did kind of loosen it a little bit from its support pole because it's got kind of just one of those thin stakes in there, you know, the really lightweight ones, and it was really kind of stuck into it. They had really tied it into it too much and it was all sort of bunched up, so I just wanted to release it a bit to get that beautiful kind of natural flow on plants, because I'm not really into plants being really kind of terribly manicured and that kind of thing. I really prefer my plants to be more natural and a little bit wild. So yeah, I kind of loosened this one up when I got it home, and it is actually going over the top of its support now. So luckily I do have some longer ones, so I shall just probably be able to slot that in really easily. I won't need to repot it or anything, because with the thin stakes you can just slot them down because they won't damage the roots or anything like that. It's fine. But this one is, as I say, a weeping fig, and I do also have the non-variegated version of this. And I know some people say these can be a little bit finicky, but I find them really easy. I don't know whether it's just me and my environment, maybe it is, but I just find them really easy. If you move them around too many times, say if you keep changing your mind where you want it and you put it somewhere and then you put it somewhere else, and I am really guilty of this. I try not to do it though too much now, but I probably do it more than I should. But anyway, these don't really like it if you keep moving them constantly. So I was even a little bit worried about bringing this one in here today, because I normally keep this one in the bedroom because it gets some good bright and direct light. I keep it quite far back from the window in there. But yeah, hopefully it'll be okay, but apparently they can be a bit finicky for that. But other than that, I would say they're pretty easy. Yeah. Okay, next I'm going to go for this one. This is, hello, can you see me? This is my Fus Elastica Teni, bit of a mouthful, so we could just say variegated rubber plant, that's what it is. One of my all-time favourites. Absolutely love this plant, it's so pretty. This one is fairly small, even though you can hardly see me over it. It is fairly small for a rubber plant. Rubber plants can get really big, and they come in lots of different colours. You can get the variegated version like this. It's kind of got that almost like a camouflage, I guess you'd call it, and they start out a little bit pink too when they first come out. You can get green ones, you can get nearly black ones. I love one of the, I'm not sure what they're called actually, I can't remember off the top of my head, but you get the really dark ones, almost black. I would love to get one of those. I've seen some really massive ones around. Love to get like a massive bushy one. But anyway, this one, yeah, it's really easy once you get the care right, and it took me a little while to get it right. I think I was overwatering it a little bit, hence there's a few little brown marks on mine. But I have now started letting it dry out completely between watering, because that's what you're supposed to do, and now it's doing just fine. I also did discover those pesky plug nets on mine when I repotted it, which is really annoying, so that may have restricted it too. But anyway, I just think this plant is really beautiful. I'm looking forward to propagating mine next year. I won't propagate till next year. When I get a plant that's really small, I try my best to wait at least a year to propagate, because really they need a bit of a chance to grow up a bit before you start chopping them up. But Sometimes I do fail and I just do it anyway because it's a bit addictive propagating plants. But yeah, anyway. Ficus Teni. Super easy, just don't overwater it, let it dry out. Put it in a nice bright spot. That's all it needs basically. Okay, I had to include my Pink Princess. This is my Philodendron Pink Princess. I had to include this one, even though mine's still a baby. I'm just obsessed with the beautiful pink in the leaves. I really love it. And it's also got like really dark red here as well. Yeah, it's a little bit unpredictable. You can see that leaf there. It's just kind of a little bit stuck, but honestly, that's not too bad compared to some of the stuck leaves I've had. I shall give it a little spray with some water, that kind of thing. But this leaf is pathetic, but this was the one that came through when I had bought it, so it had gone from the garden centre to my home, and this was the leaf it put out. So fair enough, I understand it was probably stressed when it put that one out. Then the next one it put out is this one, which to be fair is a little bigger and it's quite a nice leaf. It's not very big still though, is it? Let's face it. I mean, we've had bigger leaves, these two for example, but this is the unpredictability of nature. And I always say that probably philodendrons don't really like it in my house. They like tropical conditions. They don't particularly like it probably in the UK, or at least it's not really matching their natural environment, is it? Some people will use kind of humidifiers and grow lights and all those sorts of things to try and make the environment a bit more like what it would be in nature, but I personally prefer not to use humidifiers because of all the cons of that, you know, the expense, the possibility of mold. I rent an apartment, so it's my responsibility not to create moisture in the air and create mold in the building. That wouldn't be good, so I can't do that. Grow lights, maybe I'll get some grow lights at some point. That is something I would consider, maybe have them on at certain times, but yeah, I really love philodendrons, and I really do hope that this Pink Princess gets somewhat larger and kind of thrives, but if it doesn't, then I'm not going to be too attached. I'm just going to accept it, that it's not a plant for me. I gave it a go. It wasn't expensive. These are not expensive anymore. They used to be really rare. They're not anymore. They're appearing everywhere. Just like the Monstera Thai constellation, I've started to notice those are turning up all over the place, really much cheaper. It's not going to be long before you can probably pick up one of those really cheap too. So yeah, as I say, I gave it a go. I'll give it a good go, because I've only just started really. We'll see how it goes, and sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some. It doesn't matter really at the end of the day. And next is one of my favourite philodendrons that actually behaves itself. This one's pretty easy actually, because it's a different sort of grower, this one. It's a climber, so I mean you can have it trailing, but it doesn't seem to have the same problem of stuck leaves and all that kind of thing. This is the Philodendron Brazil, and this one has those lovely lime green splashes on it, which I really love. The leaves can get quite big. See, if you see this leaf here, this was one of the original leaves, of course, when it was first propagated, but that would have been taken probably from a larger plant. They can get that big. I believe they probably can get a bit bigger, but you do have to get it climbing for that, because the leaves get bigger as they climb. So I have got mine on this pole. It does grow in a sort of a strange way though. I don't know if anyone else finds this, but the way it sort of, when it first comes out like this, it's quite rigid and it's hard to get it to sort of grow up or stick to the pole properly. So I've sort of been doing my best to encourage it, but at the moment there are quite a lot of gaps and things. But I'm hoping that with time, and patience, which is of course key when keeping houseplants, that this plant will eventually just look really amazing. But even now, as it is, right at the beginning of its little journey, I think it's really beautiful. And yeah, I definitely recommend this one. It doesn't have, like I say, the same problems as the other philodendrons, it seems to me at least, with leaves getting stuck. Touch wood, I mean, it'll probably happen now I've said that, won't it? But never mind, it brings me joy. Maybe it will bring you joy too. Pretty easy to get hold of, this one too, very common, so you can get this one pretty much anywhere. I see them all the time in the garden centre, at least here in the UK. It obviously varies from country to country. What's rare here might not be rare somewhere else, and vice versa, so just see what's around. Next up is my biggest drama queen, the Apheliossarosa, I hope I said that right, otherwise known as the zebra plant. But this one, even though it's a little bit tricky, never let this one dry out, let me tell you, because it throws a real tantrum. This one really is drama queen almighty. But mine is growing back after its little fit that it had. In fact, the other day I had a little scare with it. It suddenly started drooping all of its leaves. Another one, I think that suddenly it's in too bright light because the sun is stronger now with summer. I quickly moved it from its spot, dunked it in some water, and it's fine. But last time that happened to me, all the leaves fell off, so I've kind of been sort of lightly touching them to see if it happens, because that's all it takes once they fall off. But it hasn't happened, and I'm just praying that I got to it in time. The awful thing about that is I'd only just watered it the day before, so it had no right to throw a tantrum on me really, and it wasn't dry either, so. But drama queen but worth it, I would put this in. If I was ranking my plants right now, I'd have a column that says drama queen but worth it. This one would go in there, because even though it can be a bit dramatic, it's so pretty. And when it does grow back, it really does grow back. I mean, it's just prolifically popping out leaves here, there and everywhere. Yeah, keep it out of direct sun, because again, it will just go whoop and drop all of its leaves. You do not want that. That's why you see a lot of these plants, they have like a really tall leggy stem and then leaves at the top, probably because it's happened to people where they've not watered it soon enough and it's just dropped all its leaves. It's not very forgiving if you leave it too long, let's put it that way. It's not one that you can just leave and forget about and it's just going to be great. But as I say, I don't mind having a few drama queens in my collection. I don't like having too many, but just like a small handful, because they're the ones I have to go running around after all the time and checking they're okay. And especially in summer. It's a little bit easier in winter, of course, because with there being less light, there's also less watering. But yeah, Apheliossarosa, difficult to say, but pretty to look at. Next up is my variegated umbrella plant, and yeah, I'm just talking about this any chance I get at the moment because it's so pretty. And actually, believe it or not, I discovered that there's a version of this. I can't remember what it was called, but I saw it on a website. Instead of the yellow variegation, it has white. Wow, I have to get one of those as well. Not seen that one in garden centres anywhere. Maybe I could get it online, but anyway, for now I've got this one and I'm really happy with this one. I love this one, it's so pretty. I'm obsessed with umbrella plants, I really am. One day my goal is to have a really huge tall one and yeah, just have it really sort of growing like a tree, a proper tree. I don't actually know how big they get because they are dwarf umbrellas, aren't they? So they don't get as big as they would in the wild, but they're very pretty. This one is pretty simple again. Give it some bright indirect light, water it when it's dry, and it's happy. They do also tolerate lower light, but I'd recommend giving it bright indirect if you want it to grow good, and especially for this one, if you'd like it to stay variegated. Light helps, apparently. yeah, I'd highly recommend this one. It's so pretty, and it just looks like little hands to me. It's like it's so happy, it's waving at me with all its little hands. Who wouldn't want loads of little hands waving at them? Well, actually that could be a bit creepy, couldn't it? Okay, on to the next. Okay, the next one I have is looking a little bit pathetic, I'll be honest. This is actually a Singian TR Color. And I rescued one some time ago now from the garden centre. It was reduced. I didn't know it had root rot when I bought it, but it turned out it had root rot. Most of the plant died. I've rescued so far this little baby, which is looking healthy, and obviously I've checked the roots and everything. So far this part seems fine. And I'm afraid I can't show you the big version, but it has like 3 colours basically. Colour like reddy pink colour, light green and dark green, hence tricolour. But yeah, I'm hoping this section does not rot. At the moment it looks fine, but with root rot I find sometimes you just think you're in the clear, but then suddenly blur, it's gone. But I've got it in a super small pot. I'm keeping my eye on it, and hopefully this part will survive. It's a lesson to be learned really. If you're going to buy plants from the clearance section in a garden centre, sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some. As I say, I didn't know this plant had root rot. I couldn't really get it out of the pot in the shop. I don't know, the plant police probably would have got me if I'd have done that. But anyway, I've kind of learnt my lesson. It wasn't expensive anyway, and maybe this baby will survive. There is a new baby coming out, and plants with root rot, they generally don't put out new leaves. So I mean, I only have limited experience of root rot, but I recently did have a plant that rotted. I will put the link to that video in the description. It was my pothos plant, a big one. Went to repot it, found out it was rotting. It hadn't put out that many new leaves, and I don't know, I just thought maybe it needs repotting. But anyway, it turned out it had root rot. But this one is putting out a little new leaf there, so maybe that's good news. But yeah, I'll keep you posted on how this one does, and hopefully I'll be able to show you a much nicer version of this at some point. But yeah, it's a little project. Some plants turn out to be projects, especially if you get it from the reduced section. I'll definitely be thinking twice about doing that again, although there have been plenty of times when I've bought stuff from the reduced section and it's been absolutely fine. So it's just, you take a chance, don't you? So, but yeah, Singian TR Color. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just counting. 5, 6, 8. Ah, yeah. We're on the last one. I'm just checking. And I couldn't talk about variegated houseplants without possibly even my top favourite, although I did say this was in no particular order, didn't I? But I'll just back up a little here. This is my Dieffenbachia. And yeah, I have to say, this plant I am just obsessed with. I absolutely love this plant. It's grown so much since I bought it, and I just hope and pray it doesn't end up with problems, because I really want it to survive. You know, you get some plants that you are just so in love with, and you'd be really sad if something happened to them, if pests got them or they rotted or something. This is one of those for me. I love this plant, it's so pretty, and I really want it to survive and live for years and years. That's my plan for this plant. But yeah, I just adore this plant. I love the shape of the leaves, I love the variegation. And I know some people don't like these when they start to mature and get a bit leggy, but I actually really like how they look when they get leggy. So yeah, even when it gets like that, I'm still going to be happy with it. But yeah, this one is just so beautiful. It just puts out so many new leaves. It's so full and luscious, and yeah, I don't have a bad word to say about it. It's really, yeah, I love it. So that brings me to the last plant on this list, and I really hope you enjoyed this list. I'd love to hear about what your favourite variegated plants are. Also, if you made it this far and you got to the end, thank you for watching. I would love to know where in the world you are and what time you're watching. I'm really curious. Let me know in the comments. And I'll see you in the next video. I'll put another one up here and also some more in the comments that you might enjoy. See you next time.